Gunfire cracked through the Seoul night, sharp and close enough to make Zara Thompson drop the phone in her hand. People screamed. Glass shattered. Someone shoved past her shoulder as she spun toward the sound, heart slamming against her ribs. Red and blue lights washed over the narrow street, flashing across her skin like warnings she did not yet understand. Across the road, half hidden by smoke and chaos, a man stood frozen. Sungmin. Alive. For one breathless second, their eyes met. Then he vanished into the crowd like he had never been there at all. If that opening already pulled something tight in your chest, pause here. Comment what you think you would do if the person you mourned for 10 years suddenly stood in front of you. Like the video if stories like this hit deep. Subscribe if you want the full journey. Now, let's go back to where it all began. 10 years earlier, Seoul felt different to Zara. Brighter. Louder. Full of promise she had not yet learned to be careful with. She had come to Korea for a 6-month cultural exchange tied to a small, but ambitious art exhibition. She was brilliant, young, and fearless in a way that only comes before life teaches you consequences. Her laugh filled rooms. Her opinions startled people. She did not shrink herself to be acceptable. The night she met Sungmin, she was arguing with a gallery coordinator about lighting placement. "No, it flattens the piece," Zara said, arms crossed, frustration clear in her voice. "The shadows matter. They're part of the story." A quiet voice behind her replied, "You're right." She turned, ready to defend her position again, then stopped. Sungmin stood there in a tailored black suit, posture relaxed, eyes unreadable. He looked like a man who belonged anywhere he stood, which somehow made him dangerous without doing anything at all. "The shadows make people uncomfortable," he continued calmly. "That means they're paying attention." Zara studied him, suspicious. "And you are?" "Sungmin," he said. "A sponsor." She scoffed lightly. "Figures. That should have been it." A brief exchange. A forgettable encounter. But he stayed. He listened as she spoke about African contemporary art, about displacement, about beauty forged through struggle. He asked questions. Real ones. Not the kind men asked when they were pretending to care. Zara noticed the way others deferred to him. The subtle fear beneath their politeness. She noticed how he never raised his voice, yet everyone leaned in when he spoke. She should have walked away. Instead, she accepted his invitation to coffee. Their connection unfolded fast, intense, and reckless. Late-night conversations stretched into early mornings. Sungmin showed her quiet corners of Seoul tourists never saw. Rooftops. Tea houses. Streets that hummed with secrets. Zara brought color into his life. He brought silence into hers. A calm that felt earned. But danger crept in at the edges. He never talked about his work. Phone calls ended abruptly. Men lingered too long outside restaurants. Once, Zara caught Sungmin watching her with an expression she could not name. Not love. Fear. "What is it?" she asked him that night. He smiled, soft and careful. "Nothing you need to worry about." She wanted to believe him. Then the threats came. First, a note slipped under her apartment door. No words. Just her name written neatly, deliberately. Then a stranger approached her outside the gallery, smiling too wide. "You should be careful," the man said in accented English. "People get hurt when they don't know their place." That night, Sungmin did not let her leave his side. "Tell me the truth," Zara demanded, voice shaking despite herself. "Who are you really?" He looked at her for a long time. "Too long. If I tell you," he said quietly, "you will never be safe again." Silence stretched between them. "Then don't lie to me anymore," she said. "I can handle the truth." But he did lie. Not with words. With omission. When Sungmin realized the rival family was using Zara as leverage, something inside him broke cleanly and decisively. Love stopped being about happiness. It became about survival. The plan was brutal. Precise. Final. He kissed Zara goodbye on a rainy evening, holding her longer than usual. "Promise me something," he said. She smiled softly. "Anything. Go back to America when the exhibition ends. Don't delay." She frowned. "What about us?" "There will always be us," he said, and for the first time, his voice cracked. 2 days later, the city woke up to news of a violent attack. A burned vehicle. A body pulled from twisted metal. Sungmin's name flooded the headlines. Zara collapsed in the gallery hallway when she heard. She screamed until her throat burned. She begged officials to let her see him. There was nothing left to see. Grief hollowed her out. She left Korea broken, carrying love that had nowhere to go. What Zara never knew was that Sungmin stood in the shadows of his own funeral, knuckles white, soul in pieces, watching the woman he loved walk away believing he was dead. For 10 years, he waited. For 10 years, he watched. And for 10 years, silence was the price of keeping her alive. Somewhere deep inside him, Sungmin asked himself the same question every night. Was love still love if it could never be touched again? And somewhere across the ocean, Zara Thompson learned how to breathe without the man who had taken her heart into the grave with him. 10 years passed, but Korea never loosened its grip on Sungmin. He stayed. He did not allow himself the mercy of distance. From the outside, the underworld whispered a new name with cautious respect. Businesses changed hands quietly. Old men retired earlier than expected. Violent rivals vanished, not in spectacles, but in silences so clean they unsettled everyone who noticed. Sungmin worked patiently, methodically. He dismantled his family's criminal empire the way a surgeon removed diseased tissue. One connection at a time. One thread at a time. He never celebrated. At night, when the city slowed and the neon lights hummed instead of screamed, he sat alone and watched videos of Zara's life on mute. Her gallery openings in New York. Her interviews. Her smile that still reached her eyes but no longer lingered there. "She's stronger," his lieutenant, Min Jae, said once, standing beside him in the darkened office. "You succeeded." Sungmin didn't answer. Min Jae hesitated. "You could have her back now." Sungmin finally looked at him. His expression was calm, but something dead lived behind his eyes. "She's alive because she believes I'm dead," he said. "That is not success. That is the cost." Meanwhile, Zara Thompson built something beautiful out of grief. New York tested her, hardened her. She learned to negotiate, to command rooms, to refuse to be underestimated. Her gallery became known for bold curation and unapologetic storytelling. African artists. Asian diaspora voices. Stories that refused to be neat. People admired her strength. Few noticed the way she never let anyone get too close. She dated. Sometimes seriously. Sometimes briefly. Every time it ended the same way. "You're here," one man told her gently, "but part of you is somewhere else." She laughed it off. She always did. At night, alone in her apartment, she sometimes spoke to the ceiling. "Why did you leave me?" she whispered, anger still sharp after all these years. "Why didn't you fight?" The answer never came. What did come were memories she could not silence. His voice. His restraint. The way he looked at her like she was something fragile and unstoppable at the same time. Back in Korea, Sungmin learned about the property deal the same way he learned about everything important. Quietly. Zara was returning to Seoul. The name on the document made his blood run cold. The land sat between territories that had not been neutralized yet. Old loyalties. Old grudges. The kind that survived leadership changes and peace treaties. Min Jae slammed his hand on the desk. "This is a mistake. She can't be there." "She doesn't know," Sungmin said. "That doesn't matter. They will see her name. They will remember." Sungmin closed his eyes. For 10 years, he had calculated risk with precision. This was different. This was not business. This was the past demanding payment. Zara arrived in Seoul with cautious excitement. The city felt familiar in a way that surprised her. The air. The rhythm. Even the ache. She told herself it was just nostalgia. The meeting about the property went smoothly. Too smoothly. That night, she noticed the man across the street. He wasn't trying to hide. That was what unsettled her. When she turned a corner, he followed. Zara's pulse spiked. She reached for her phone, fingers trembling. "Miss Thompson," the man called calmly. "Please don't run." She spun around. "Who are you?" "Someone who knows you shouldn't be here." Fear tasted metallic in her mouth. "If this is about money, talk to my lawyer." The man smiled thinly. "This is about blood." The next seconds blurred. Another man stepped out of the shadows. Then another. Before they could close in, a car screeched to a halt between them. Doors opened. Bodies moved with terrifying efficiency. Zara barely had time to scream before someone grabbed her arm and pulled her into the vehicle. "Let go of me," she shouted, fighting. "Zara," a voice said sharply. "Stop." Her heart stopped. She looked up. Sungmin sat across from her, eyes locked on her face like he was afraid she might vanish if he blinked. Alive. Her scream tore out of her chest, raw and broken. She lunged at him, fists pounding his chest. "You're dead," she sobbed. "You're dead. I buried you." He let her hit him. Let her cry. Let her break against him. "I know," he said hoarsely. "I know." The car sped through Seoul streets as the world narrowed to the two of them. "How?" she demanded between sobs. "How could you do this to me?" "I did it for you." She laughed, sharp and disbelieving. "You don't get to say that. You don't get to decide my life without me." He reached for her hand, then stopped himself. "You were going to be killed," he said. "I chose your life." "And what about mine?" she shouted. "Do you know what 10 years of grief does to someone?" Silence crushed him. He had imagined this reunion 1,000 times. None of them prepared him for the sound of her pain. The car slowed. Sungmin met her gaze, eyes dark with regret and something unyielding. "I waited," he said. "Every day. Every night. I waited until I could protect you without destroying you." Zara stared at him, chest heaving, tears streaking her face. "And now?" she asked quietly. Now was the most dangerous word of all. The car stopped in an underground garage that smelled of oil and cold concrete. The engine cut off, and suddenly the silence felt louder than the chaos they had just escaped. Zara folded her arms around herself, shaking. Not from fear anymore. From fury. "So this is it," she said bitterly. "You show up, save me like some hero in a movie, and expect me to just accept it?" Sungmin stepped out first, scanning the space out of instinct. When he opened her door, she slapped his hand away and climbed out on her own. "Don't touch me." That hurt more than any bullet ever had. "I'm not asking you to accept anything," he said carefully. "I'm asking you to stay alive." She laughed, hollow and sharp. "You don't get to decide that anymore." They moved into a private elevator. The doors closed. The hum as they ascended was slow, deliberate, like time stretching just to torture them. "You died," Zara said, voice cracking again despite her effort. "I stood in a foreign country and watched strangers lower a coffin I wasn't allowed to open. I couldn't even say goodbye." Sungmin's jaw tightened. "If you had seen me, they would have known you mattered." "I already mattered," she snapped. "I mattered enough for you to erase yourself." The elevator doors opened into a penthouse that overlooked Seoul, all glass and restrained luxury. Zara barely glanced at it. "Say it," she demanded. "Say you didn't think I was strong enough to survive the truth." He turned to face her fully now. "I thought you were strong enough to survive without me." The words landed between them, heavy and final. Zara's knees buckled slightly, and she sat down hard on the edge of a couch. "You don't get medals for that," she whispered. "You don't get rewarded for choosing for me." Sungmin crouched in front of her, careful to keep his distance. "Every night for 10 years, I asked myself if I was wrong. And? I still don't know." That honesty broke something open. Tears slid down Zara's face, slower now. Exhausted. "I rebuilt my life," she said. "Do you know how hard it is to rebuild when half of you is buried?" "I watched you," he admitted quietly. "I saw every opening. Every interview. I knew when you were tired. When you were lonely." Her head snapped up. "You watched me." "Yes." "Without saying anything?" "Yes." Her voice rose. "That's not love. That's cruelty." Sungmin bowed his head. "I know." A knock sounded at the door. Sharp. Urgent. Minjae entered without waiting, eyes tense. "They know she's here. The old faction is moving faster than we expected." Zara stood immediately. "What does that mean?" "It means," Sungmin said, rising, "this was never just about land. They want leverage. And I'm the leverage," Zara finished coldly. Minjae hesitated. "You should leave the country tonight." Zara looked between them. "I'm not running." Sungmin's voice hardened. "This is not a debate." Her eyes flashed. "I have spent 10 years being powerless without knowing why. I'm done letting men decide my fate." Minjae looked almost impressed. Sungmin exhaled slowly. "If you stay, things will get ugly." "They already are," she replied. That night, the first warning came. A firebomb shattered the quiet of the street below. Flames licked up the side of the building. Sirens wailed in the distance. Zara flinched but didn't scream. "This is my fault," Sungmin said, rage simmering beneath his calm. "They're testing me." "Then stop protecting me from the truth," Zara said firmly. "Tell me who you really are." He hesitated only a second. "I am the man who survived by becoming worse than everyone hunting me," he said. "And the man who spent 10 years trying to be better than the world I came from." She swallowed. "And now?" "And now," he said, "I fight in the open." The next days were relentless. Threats escalated. Deals collapsed. Men who had stayed silent for years suddenly spoke with violence. Sungmin moved like a storm, decisive and merciless when needed. Zara saw both sides of him. The protector. The predator. And still, he never raised his voice with her. One night, after another close call, Zara found him on the balcony, staring out at the city. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked softly. "Faking your death." He didn't turn. "Every day." She stepped closer. "And me?" He finally looked at her. His eyes were raw now. Unguarded. "You are the only thing I never regretted." Her breath caught. Silence stretched between them, thick with everything unsaid. "I don't know if I can forgive you," Zara whispered. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," Sungmin replied. "I'm asking for a chance to be honest." Below them, Seoul pulsed. Dangerous. Alive. Their future balanced on a knife's edge. Before we move into the final confrontation, pause here. If you were Zara, could you forgive a love that chose silence over truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if the emotions are hitting hard. Subscribe now so you don't miss how this ends. Because what comes next will decide everything. The final move came at dawn. Not loud. Not dramatic. Calculated. Sungmin stood in a private conference room surrounded by men who had once sworn loyalty to his family name. Some avoided his eyes. Others met his gaze with old hatred barely restrained. "You've grown soft," one of them said, voice dripping contempt. "All this legitimacy. All these rules. You forgot who you are." Sungmin didn't raise his voice. "I remember exactly who I am. That's why this ends today." Folders slid across the table. Evidence. Accounts. Names. Alliances quietly documented over years. The kind of truth that collapsed empires without a single shot fired. "You move against her," Sungmin continued evenly, "and none of you survived the aftermath. Financially. Socially. Politically. This is not a threat. It's a courtesy." Silence followed. One man stood abruptly. "You would burn everything for one woman?" Sungmin's answer was immediate. "Already did." By nightfall, the old faction was finished. Arrests followed. Assets frozen. Power stripped clean. The war ended without Zara ever hearing a gunshot. She learned the truth the next evening, sitting across from Sungmin in the same penthouse where everything had exploded back into her life. "It's over," he said simply. She studied his face. Exhausted. Older. Human in a way she had never seen before. "And now?" she asked. Sungmin leaned back, hands open. "No armor left. Now you walk away if you want. No one will touch you again. I swear it." Zara stood and walked toward the window, staring out at Seoul. The city where she had loved. Where she had broken. Where she had returned stronger without meaning to. "You waited 10 years, she said quietly. "Why?" He didn't hesitate. "Because loving you once was enough to last a lifetime." Her throat tightened. "I hated you," she admitted. "Some days, that was the only thing that kept me standing." "I know. I loved you," she continued. "Even when I tried not to." "I know," he said again, softer this time. She turned to face him. "If I stay, there are no more lies. No more disappearing. No more choosing for me." Sungmin nodded once. "You walk beside me, or not at all." Zara exhaled slowly. She crossed the room and stopped in front of him. "Not close enough to touch. Not far enough to run." "Then we start again," she said. "Not where we left off. From here." Relief cracked through him like air after drowning. He didn't reach for her. He waited. Zara closed the distance herself. Their first embrace in 10 years was quiet. No urgency. No desperation. Just two people acknowledging survival. Later, as dawn crept over the city, Zara sat beside Sungmin on the balcony, wrapped in a blanket, watching Seoul wake up. "Do you think it was worth it?" she asked. The waiting. The silence. Sungmin considered the question honestly. "I lost everything," he said. "And I gained the chance to see you choose me freely." She nodded slowly. "Then maybe love isn't about how loudly you fight for someone, but how much you're willing to endure." They stayed there until the city was fully awake. Not healed. Not perfect. But honest. And, sometimes, honesty is the bravest ending of all. If this story made you feel something, don't scroll past it. Like the video so more people can find it. Subscribe and tell me in the comments. Could you forgive someone who disappeared for 10 years to protect you, or would that silence be too loud to survive? Because some loves don't end. They wait.